on the Northern Beaches. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak, and talking about getting ourselves out of a recession, if we're there yet, if we're not there, but we need to support a local business, support the local economy, and get behind it, spend some money where we can, and stimulate. Mark, where do you think we are at the moment? Do you reckon we're in a recession, close to?
According to news last night, it's official. That we are in a recession as a country. We have put ourselves in there. Unfortunately, we've pulled the trigger on ourselves. But that's actually good news, because we know what we did to get into it, and now we know what we have to do to get out of it. Michael, supporting local business, spending. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's the little decisions we do every day, which will have that impact as well. And also, what we mean by that is I think groceries is probably a good example, and then you may apply this to other shoppings where everyone just goes to the big national or international company and they buy everything there. Convenience generally wins in a lot of businesses across everything. But there's a lot of beautiful small local butchers, local coffee shops, and just local bakeries as well, where they're going to need our help more than ever. Because Mark, the unfortunate thing is, during this time, basically the rich got richer. Your big supermarkets, your big outlets, they all were open during this time and were booming. But the people who really struggled were your little local corner shops, were your local shops in your suburb where they had to close, or they just didn't have enough people coming through, where like your normal bakery, because people weren't on the streets walking around, they just had no one in there. So I think now more than ever, we need to support the local and independent.
And this is big, Michael, because it's supporting mental health, it's supporting health, it's supporting industry, it's supporting so many things. But I've got to say, over the last 20 or 30 years, when I've seen buy Australian made or buy Australian made, that resonates with me so much more now in the last 3 months of life than it ever did. I actually finally get what I feel like. I finally get what it actually really means. So I think whatever you're buying, if you not only buying from a local, but where are they sourcing the product from? And I think that if people can be sourcing their stuff from local, like where is the milk from? Where is the orange juice from? And you can see that it's from, Northern Territory or South Australia or something. That's a bloody good thing. It's really going to help us.
And that's something little everyone can do, which will accumulate to and have a big impact. So you're at Coles and you look on the shelves, and baked beans, there's 15 different brands and people who make it. Just take the extra time, have a look at the label, made in Australia or not made in Australia, and we vote to buy the made in Australia one. They're the little things we're saying today that we can all do that will help our domestic economy, because, as you said, officially in a recession, this is not good, and the mental health is going to be very, very bad, which the true effects of this COVID-19, in my opinion, we haven't seen them yet. The economic hardship, because let's face it, everyone's been able to really pause their mortgage and loans. So most people weren't defaulting on loans because they didn't have to pay. The real hardship, or a further hardship, probably is the correct word, will be in the next 6 months and 12 months from the economic outskirt, and then the mental health side of it as well. The government's put a lot of money behind it as well, haven't they, Mark?
Oh, massive, which is we've taken out a huge amount of debt. I think the country debt was sitting at about $550 billion.
Yes.
We were almost at zero.
Yeah.
We're trying to get rid of that. Now, fortunately, we'd actually positioned ourselves much better than most countries, being towards that zero that we were. So, fortunately, we can absorb something like this a lot. We can be a bit more resilient because we didn't have our bum hanging out before going into this. But I'm really excited about the fact that it's a controlled environment. You know, this hasn't happened, and we're thinking, what's happening to our economy and what's happening, you know, around the world. We know exactly why this has happened to us, and it's power to the people at the moment, where a lot of people have. There's the unfortunate minority. What can they do to help? They can do something here. They're the people that have lost jobs. You can still shop local. You can still support local. There's a lot of people that haven't been paying mortgages for 6 months because they've had a freeze, that have had JobKeeper benefits coming through, that in the full force of those benefits, and they didn't really need the full force of those benefits. But these people's coffers are, if the government's told us not to spend. They've told us not to go to restaurants. They've told us not to travel. They've told us not to do all these things for bloody good reasons.
Yep.
But that means that they've asked us to stop circulating wealth. And that is only going to put a country into a recession, right? So very quickly. So now, which is great news. We're coming back to the table to eat and drink and travel domestically. I think it's really, really important we do it in a different way than we used to do it. So, you know, when you're purchasing stuff, if you're using Amazon, you know, have a look on Amazon and say, is that product a locally sourced product, or can I buy, you know, batteries from, you know, this country rather than another country? I don't know, but I just know that support local thing, beautiful.
Yeah, and it all starts with awareness, and that's the main topic of today as well. Renewal, good news just announced by ScoMo about to do a $25,000 grant, which will encourage new builds. Yes, I've seen an article on that. That'll be exciting, because the best thing that is where we can turn lemons to lemonade through this whole process, if we can really ramp up our domestic manufacturing and our building as well. DAs and construction, new DAs for new buildings in Sydney is down about 30% in the last 2 years, which will have a horrific undersupply issue in the next 12 months really, because DAs, it's about a 3-year pipeline. So when you stop it, when you see it decrease, we're not going to have the effects now. We're going to have them in 2 years or 3 years' time. So that would be a great initiative where we can get new construction up, because you've always got that argument of affordability. Well, we need new buildings. We need new units to make it more affordable. There probably will be a little bit less pressure because immigration may not be there this year or for the next year, but we still need the jobs that will create from all levels when new building and construction. So that will be really exciting to see as well, because I think construction's like the backbone of our country. I find when that's doing well, it's got a good ethos throughout it all, and it has a big chain reaction to many markets when construction is doing well.
Well, and look, let's face it, building's local. You know, so the biggest cost of building, I think, is labour. So, you know, all that labour is sourced locally. So it's good. With ScoMo, with what ScoMo is doing, I think it's quite clever, because he's ripping money out of people's pockets and making them spend, giving them an incentive to do that. So that, again, is locally sourced labour. Again, the money that people have put into their coffers is trying to reach into your pocket and get you to spend it. Great thing, because, you know, you saving it is actually choking the economy. So I think people that have been saving furiously for, you know, people stockpile toilet paper. People have been stockpiling with their budgets. And if they're stockpiling with their budgets, they are strangling local business and the domestic economy. So it's interesting that when we relate that back to new building, food and shelter, I think has been very important through that COVID situation, and I think that it's people are going to still keep. I think property is going to be resilient as a result of it, because it was one of the two categories that the people utilised the most through COVID: their home and food.
Yeah, and we've said on another show that there's not many levers our economy have at the moment to create income for itself. Immigration, education, tourism, all of those are going to be pretty slim, if not non-existent, over the next sort of 3 to 18 months. So property is going to be a big one. Construction is going to be a huge one as well. Alessio said a nice one: support a local business and buy local products. Michael Edwards said another excuse buyers will be using not to act. A lot of agents are already claiming a 50% reduction in turnover since the start of the restrictions. Does this get worse or better in coming months? So I reckon it's going to get better moving forward. We know where things are. We'll put it this way, like what you said about people holding money, Mark. Yes, have a rainy day fund, no question there. But with interest rates so low, there's very little, if no incentive, to hold cash at the moment. All the incentive is to now going to be reinvesting it back into the market, reinvesting it in investments as well. So before, if you're getting 2%, 3% on your money, then you're like, yeah, I'll just let it sit there. But you're basically if not now, very soon you'll be getting no interest for having money in the bank. So you're going to be needing to look at ways to invest, and that could be buying a unit, building a building, investing it in a business physically as well. What do you recommend?
I think look, let's face it. We are stockpiling. We did stockpile. We are stockpiling, and we will stockpile. This is a new way, right? So we are why? Because we're saving for a rainy day. Now, unfortunately, if you're not spending, that's killing local business and local economies out there. So there's got to be a balance where you've actually got enough to sustain a pandemic again, but there's got to be enough to actually keep things going. So I think that there's actually a turning point on that. There's a turning point where it's like, okay, now we've got, as a family or as a couple, we've got 3 months worth of survival money.
Yes.
Or 1 month worth of survival money. Whereas before, people didn't have any survival money. Now, if you've now got that survival money, it came from choking the local not spending. It came from not spending. So I think there's a turning point now where people are going, okay, well, I've got my survival money in case that ever happens again, and now let's go out and start spending. And that's what this morning's segment's about, saying, guys, let's get out there, let's support the economy, enjoy yourselves a little bit. You've had a hard time, but keep at the front of your mind that be a label watcher as to where those products are coming from. If you've got prawns that you're buying that are from Thailand, or prawns that you're buying from Australia, there's your answer there. You're going to be paying a little bit more for the Australian prawns. They're going to be fresher, but that money's going to go straight back into supporting local.
But also, and help a local. When I think we're chatting off air, when you go to a local store and you have a great experience, tell people about it. I think everyone knows the saying, when something good happens to you, you tell one person. When something bad happens to you, you tell 10. Now, let's tell 10 people when something good happens. If you go to your local coffee shop and you have a great coffee, a great meal, or you get your lights done and aircon done at your place and you had a great experience, tell people out there, do a post. Let's really support our local, but also really support great operators out there. Raise their flag saying these guys and girls in business are phenomenal. You should use them if you need. I think we need to get more behind everyone as a whole and really give everyone a pat on the back when they do well and shine a light when they do well. And equally so, if they do poorly, say their shit and help people so they don't spend their money on bad operators. But let's focus on the good and let's get more positive out there. I want it to be the saying where something good happens, we tell 15, and when something bad happens, we tell 10. Let's flip the switch.
Or even if something good happens, tell 15. If something bad happens, to 15. But just give those good operators a go.
Yes.
That and I must admit, it's probably a little bit selfish. If you're getting something done like air conditioning, like, why would you post? It's sort of not in your interest anymore. You're getting it installed. It's done. Project finished. But if you think about yourself 1 week or 3 weeks or 3 months before getting the air conditioning installed, you were searching. So it's almost like a bit of a duty now that if you can take on that duty that when you're consuming a product or a service or something local, spread the wealth, spread of knowledge, let people know who Michael Bergio uses or who Mark Novak uses for aircon, and they go bang. And the next thing you know, a week later, I get an SMS saying, hey, that aircon guy that you posted, can you flick me his number? Yeah. So when I do the post on the aircon guy, I'm like, this is a bit of fun, but, am I wasting time? It's probably the best investment into our economy that one can make. It's spreading that local knowledge. You're right.
We got a comment from Nikki, and that was something. Where was it? Great. Do any of you gentlemen have an Australian products website or list? Just as you asked, Nikki, I've just Googled that, and I think I found one. As we go live, I'm going to bring this on as we're live.
Oh, this is cutting edge technology.
Yeah, and I think we found one. So I'm just going to fumble my way through it with you. I think now it should be on the screen. Give it a couple of seconds.
Tool bags. Featured products.
So find Aussie products.
Oh, this is the Australian made icon that we've all grown up with and ignored.
Yes. So is that up yet? No, it's still me, isn't it?
I think this website would be going off in the last couple of months. Hey, can I say something as well before we get into that? We like our social media. I went on to our social media and tried to get local logos, local business logos, local business support at the beginning of COVID. Yep. I couldn't find nothing internationally. Like support a local business, support your local support. It was like it was really hard for me to do. I went on this morning and there were millions. So there is a movement towards this. There's definitely a movement towards this.
So look, I just typed in shampoo and all the Australian made shampoo. So I'll do that again so people can see. So here's that website.
That's really metrosexual doing that, dude.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
And then all of the products. This is great. So let's
show us your shampoo. Can you sort it in any order?
Bacon. We all love bacon. Look at
that. What is that? Searching bacon and shampoo. Okay, what have we got? Kong Farmyard Friends. Kong doesn't sound very Australian, but he is.
Yeah, must be.
Wow. Show us about Kong. There you go. Best Friends. Corner of Maribyrnong, Victorian. Barcode, Australian made licensee. There you go, guys.
Okay, I'm going to put this link in there for you, but thanks, Nikki, for bringing that up. I didn't even think of that. Everyone should have this saved on their phone. And let's actually see if you can buy through this, or is it just tell you where you can buy? Hang on, guys. Let's double check this. Because
register products, log in for business. Yeah. You know what? It's so true, though. Like, how would you know?
Okay, I think it redirects you to their website then. See?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
So you can buy Kong bacon now, Michael, if you need it.
Bacon.
Kong bacon. Australian-made Kong bacon.
That was,
But don't forget, you would automatically think a lot of things would come from Australia, and they don't. You got to check.
Yeah.
Local champion businesses. How would one person promote a local champion business? We may take this for granted a little bit. Just like when I was showing a real estate agent from our office a street the other day, I had to explain to a guy from our own office that odds were on one side and evens were on the other on a street with house numbers. And it was like, really? Like, yeah, you didn't know that? You haven't worked it out? No, I haven't. And I was like, and a cul-de-sac, it fans
They're
around.
going ascending and descending order.
So back to how would one promote a local shop business or someone that's doing great? What's the best ways in your world that you do it?
So for starters, something is better than nothing. So don't overthink it. A post on your page is great. Even a private message and friends are great. A review on their page is great. I would ask the provider and go to them, how would you like me to endorse you? Because a lot of providers will say, I focus on Google reviews, or I have a section on my website.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah. Ask them how they would like. Not all the time you can get.
What a great compliment.
Yeah. So, and what I mean, so that where I meant by something's better than nothing, sometimes you don't know who to ask, or you may not get the answer. So do something rather than going, well, I want to wait for where they want it, rather than not doing it all. Post it on your page and tag them in it.
Take a photo with them.
Yep.
Get a good old selfie with them or a photo with them. Also, we've all got groups. We've got mothers groups, we've got exercise groups, we've got family groups. Throw it into your groups, because it doesn't have to be broadcast to millions. It can be broadcast to your top favorite buddies, the top 10 favorite buddies, you know.
Well, to other agents out there, I know what we do at Nova. We've got a WhatsApp group, best of the best. And when we have a good tiler, a good accountant, a good experience, and someone we want the team to use, we put in there saying, these guys are a gun carpenter. They just did this work for us. We recommend them. So everyone should have something very similar. All companies should have it, and then on an individual level as well.
That's a take, dude. That's a take.
It's good to be back in the office. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for all the support as well. I've had hundreds of messages, so it's been really, really nice for everyone. So
all the love.
Now let's give some Australia some love.
So guys, let's get behind Australia. Let's get behind your local. Let's get behind supporting our economy. We are officially in a recession, according to the news last night. I think there's only 3 times Australia's been in that position in the history of Australia. If I heard correctly, I was half asleep when I did. But let's do it.
Andrew Cole's mantra, do nothing and nothing happens. Do something and something happens. Thank you, Andrew. That's a wrap.